running as part of Generous God and Generous Disciples. My name is Chris Burke. I'm the Archdeacon of Barking, and it's been my great joy to work with people from across the diocese as we explore together what it means to be generous disciples in response to our experience of a generous God. We begin this marketplace seminar just pausing for a moment to pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you that you call us to be good stewards. Help us to be wise. Help us to be ambitious in our discipleship. Help us to discern your call upon us and the communities of which we are a part. Give us courage and wisdom, and open our eyes to all that is possible and all that you call us into. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, everybody. And now I hand over to Jeremy, who's going to guide us through the rest of this evening.
Thank you. First of all, can I just say to you, if you need captions, the closed caption is available below. And as we were just commenting, that at a recent one, Bishop Peter came out as Bishop Pizza. So it's always worth putting the captions on, if only to keep yourself amused by what they decide to throw up. My role is I'm mission and development advisor for Barking area. So one of the mission and ministry advisors. And it's fallen to me for this particular webinar, which I've helped put together. So you're going to get 4 presentations tonight. During each presentation, please use the chat box if you want to ask a question, and I will collate those questions and ask those questions on your behalf once the presentation from each person is finished. So they've got 10 minutes to present and 5 minutes for questions. And somebody has suggested, perhaps inappropriately, that this is a bit like a dragon's den. So I don't want you voting them on or off, but if they're useful to you, all the information that will be shown tonight will be up on our website tomorrow. And obviously we can give you direct contacts should you wish to directly contact any particular presenter together. Our first presentation is from Roisin, and she is coming from Easy Funding, something I hope most of you know a little about. And she will do, as we were saying earlier, in good Chris Whitty style. Next slide, please, because James, who is hidden behind the emblem of communications team, will manage her presentation for her. I hope that's all okay. And please, if any of it is unclear or you want to ask anything, then please use the chat function for that. And we will have 4 presentations with a brief gap so you can go to the loo or get a cup of tea, and we'll be finished by 8:30. Thank you. Roisin, bless you, please. You're on.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much. It's really great to be here this evening. I am not at all nervous about going first, so I'm just going to get cracking. So Easy Fundraising is an online shopping website that's going to allow your churches to raise free funds. So James, without further ado, if you don't mind moving to the next slide, please. We're going to cover off very quickly what Easy Fundraising is and how it works, how you go ahead and register your church, and how to get your support and network involved, and what that can mean for funding, tips for success, and yeah, Q&A right there at the end. So moving swiftly on to the next slide. As mentioned, Easy Fundraising is an online website where people do their normal shopping, the shopping that they were going to do anyway. But if they do it via the website, the retailer will give a donation back to the good cause that that supporter is raising funds for. In this case, it's going to be your church. We are partnered with over 4,300 retailers, so you can raise on absolutely everything from groceries to getaways and everything in between. We've been doing this for a long time. We started out back in 2007, and during that time we've helped good causes across the UK raise over £34 million. It's actually hurtling towards 35 million, which is super. And we're the largest of our type in the UK. There are others out there, but we have a very large breadth of retailer and very good relationships with them all. We're very proud to be working with lots of churches now. We've done a lot of work over the last 12 months with our Church of England diocese across the country, and I can tell you that churches, just churches as a sort of category within Easy Fundraising, have raised over £1.2 million using the service, so it's well worth a look. So I'm going to quickly touch on how it works so that you've got an understanding of how you raise a donation. So if you don't mind moving to the next slide, please, James. To raise a donation, you go to the Easy Fundraising website where you will have an account, you'll be logged in. You can either search for a retailer in a search bar, so you could just say, right, I want to make a purchase from John Lewis today. You type in John Lewis in the search bar. Easy Fundraising will deliver you a page that gives you information about them, so what the rate of the donation is that's been offered that day, whether there's any exclusions or limitations that you need to be aware of, so that you're fully informed that yes, this is the retailer I want to make a purchase from. If you're happy, you go ahead, click shop now. It will take you to John Lewis's website, and once you're there, your experience is exactly as it would have been had you just Googled John Lewis and visited them that way. Easy Fundraising don't have any access to what you buy or any of your details. They remain secure, as you'd expect. The retailer looks after all of that. All that happens is if you make a purchase, John Lewis are aware that you came via Easy Fundraising, and they'll track back the value of the purchase that you've made for Easy Fundraising to convert it into the donation for you. That donation then goes onto the church's account. We collate all of the donations into one account and we pay that out to the church each quarter. Another way you can actually reach Easy Fundraising is via our app and our donation reminder, which I'll touch on in a moment. If you don't mind going to the next slide for me, James, please. I won't harp on about retailers because there are so many, but it's just to highlight the breadth that is there. So when we say you can raise on everything that you're normally buying, it genuinely is. So everything from a takeaway from Just Eat to your usual quick and easy purchases from Amazon and eBay. I've highlighted Eden there just because with the work that we've done with churches over the last year or so, I know that that's a retailer that people are often surprised to see on Easy Fundraising, and there are a vast array of others. Next slide for me, please, James. Oh, I could do this. You put me number 10, no problem. This is just to indicate the other tools to allow people to shop. So you can go via the website, which is super, but people, you know, they're busy and they want easy ways to do this, and we want to give you easy ways to help them. So we've got an app that works on tablets and iPads and mobile devices, phones, etc. Of course, free as you'd expect. And also we've got a handy little tool called the donation reminder, which you can download onto desktop computers or laptop computers, and that will just pop up if you're on a retailer that is an Easy Fundraising retailer, so you actually don't even need to log in to the site. That's how you raise a donation. That's how the donations come to be. That's how it works. So next step would be, if you think that this is something that your church, you know, you're great, James, you were there. If you think this is something that your churches and your congregation would get behind, is to register your church so that they can find you and they can support you. So we have a bespoke landing page here just for Diocese of Chelmsford churches. I've popped our QR code there as well, just your camera. Most cameras will just be able to take you straight there if you use that to have a little look at that. You register your church with some information. So we need to know the name of your church. You, in essence, become the church's first supporter. So we'll ask you for your name, your email address, and ask you to set a password. But that is the extent of information that anybody has to give, personal information, your name, your email address, and a password. We've no need for any other information. All we're going to do is just track any purchase that you make. So we don't need anything else. For the church, you'll pop in the church name. It's great to pop in a little bit about what you're raising for. So if you're, I saw a church that's registered today, they're raising for a boiler. It's not very glamorous, but it's, you know, we need them. But it could be anything. It could be your running costs. It could be a pilgrimage. It could be absolutely anything. But it's nice for people to see when they sign up and they see what they want to support your church. They see what you're actually focusing your fundraising on. You have to pop in where we're going to pay you, which is obviously the most important thing. We'll pay you every quarter. So you can choose a cheque and just make the cheque payable to the church, or you can choose backs. It's a little bit more efficient, probably a little bit easier in the current circumstances, but entirely up to you. If you go for backs, sort code and account number and your church name, and you're up and running. And that is it. The church is registered. If you pop to the next slide for me, please, James. You'll see that this is the page that you actually create. This is when you let your congregations know and the community know and the people around you that this is a way that they can fundraise for you. You'll share this page, and all they need to do is click the support this cause page button, and they create their own supporter account, name, email address and password. Then they shop as normal. They just need to do what they were doing already: buy their car insurance, book their takeaway, pick up their iron from Argos, or just do it via Easy Fundraising. You're going to get some free donations at the same time. Now, key is to be able to get people on board. So Easy Fundraising works at its very best when there's a power of a community behind it. You do get it going very well when there's just a faithful few, but it works at its very best when there's lots of people doing the same thing for the same ends. So if we pop to the next slide, Easy Fundraising have created a whole area on the site called Promote My Cause, and it is there filled with tools to enable you to share your page with your congregation wherever it is that you speak to them. So if that's that you like to communicate via newsletter, you'll find content that's ready written, your links included. You just copy and paste, pop it in the newsletter, and away you go. We know people are busy. We want to make it as easy and efficient for you as possible to share. There's social media posts, there's flyers and posters, there's presentations to take back to committees if you wanted to consider it a little more. Everything is in that area. So the Promote My Cause area is available to absolutely everybody, not just the person who registers. So you can delegate as well, which is always a good thing. Lastly, I'm coming to the end. Next slide. I just wanted to finish on a testimonial actually from a lovely treasurer we had, Lillian, who says that it's nice to have a different way of asking for donations. This doesn't cost anything. It is a free. It's nice because it can run along everything else that you're doing, sits in the background, very easy to maintain. And as Lillian says there, it's a lovely surprise for any treasurer when the money turns up in the bank once a quarter. And I think that is me. Done.
You were amazing. You were easily within time, so don't worry about that at all.
Let's hope there's a couple of questions so that I didn't rush through too much.
I think people are wanting to understand what the donation amounts are and what the amount is that you as Easy Fundraising take from that and how that works. I think they just want to understand that piece as well, please.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so donations vary massively from 0.5% for Amazon up to, you can get flat rate donations of 50, 60, 70 pounds if you're buying those sort of bigger purchases like insurances or holidays, or perhaps more measured purchases that take you into a year-long contract. You'll get a larger donation. Easy Fundraising have relationships with all of these retailers. We as a company are delivering customers to them, and so they will pay us for that as well. They want your business, they want you to go to their store, and so we have our own commission arrangements with the retailers that aren't displayed, so it doesn't confuse the supporter. If you see that the donation available is 3% for a John Lewis purchase, that is what you're going to get. But behind the scenes, if Easy Fundraising deliver X amount of customers to John Lewis that day or that week, there will be a commission that will have been earned there. And also Easy Fundraising are able to charge a commission and raise revenue from our website. So you'll see there will be retailer spots on the website. There's a banner that rolls, and all of those areas are for sale so that retailers can place themselves there, and Easy Fundraising are able to make money there as well. We are a for-profit business. We are not a charity, but I would say that we are a small business that really does invest all of its money back into the platform so that we can offer this service always free of charge and to as many good causes as possible.
And could you just help us with the idea? Some of us are thinking, you talk about parishioners, but actually this could work very well in villages where they're friends of groups. They're not necessarily attending the church at all. But yeah. Anybody can join. I could choose a church way out in Essex that's got nothing to do with me, and they could be my recipient of Easy Fundraising. I don't have to have a link to you, to them.
No, in fact, it's how it works at its best is when it is out in the community. And you often find, especially we've found with more rural churches, that certainly they are such a key part of the community. And it might not be that they have a very big attendance, but people within their town or village do want, it's a very important part of the community, and they want to support it. And this is a way that they can. Often people have absolutely no idea that this task that they're doing, whether it's buying their car insurance or making purchase of school uniform or buying shoes, whatever it might be, they've got no idea that I could actually be raising a donation. And it might be that they've got nobody that they particularly want to raise a donation for, but once they realise they could be raising a donation for somebody, then why wouldn't they at that same time? Because in this world of affiliate marketing, which is basically in essence what Easy Fundraising does, somebody within that transaction is getting paid, whether that's Google or the site that you've checked to see what other people think, such as a Good Housekeeping, for instance. If you click on a link in their article, they're receiving a payment for it. So all Easy Fundraising does is just convert that payment into a donation for its good cause, but it is absolutely limitless. If you can extend out, say to people within your community and your congregation, do you own a business? Do you know somebody else who would be buying for business? Do you know anybody who's shopping online on a regular basis? They could be raising funds for us every day for free.
And last question is, how easy is it for the local business, let's say again in that village, to register with you, because they've now, because of COVID, got an online business, and suddenly the flower shop down the road or the butchers or whatever, could they register with you as well so that it becomes very much a community?
Oh, absolutely. And we absolutely love that. And that's why there are so many retailers on Easy Fundraising site, is for that very reason. There's a requirement of being able to track the purchase that's needed. And so we ask that the retailers work with some affiliate networks that can put that tracking in place for them, but we can help them with that. So we have a suggestions option. So you can just let our customer support team know if you've got a retailer who you think should be on Easy Fundraising, and we'll reach out to them, or the retailers are welcome to contact us themselves, and we can talk them through the process that they need and the different affiliate networks that are out there, and there are many, so they can have a good look at what's a good fit for them. And yeah, we can get them up and running, definitely.
Brilliant. I think that's covered the questions.
Marvellous.
Everybody else has come in. So if anybody is interested, they can just look up Easy Fundraising or go that QR code, and all that stuff's going to be on the Chelmsford website tomorrow. And if they've got more detailed questions, then they're going to come through to you or your colleagues at Easy Fundraising.
I've put my details on the deck here, so that, yeah, any questions at all, just get in touch. I'm more than happy to help. I can answer. I used to head up our customer support team before I moved over to this role, so I can usually answer most questions, even if they're sort of supporter or cause led. So even if you're already registered and you've got a question about an existing account, just let me know and I can help you.
Okay, I've just had a very last minute question, which said, they're signed up to Easy Fundraising as a donor. Can they use the same email address for setting up their church for donations, or does it have to be separate?
Yeah, no, they can. What it will do though is it will automatically move your supporter account to be raising for the church. So as it stands at the moment, you can only raise for one cause with one email account. Possibly something that we'll look to change in the future, but for ease at the moment, you have to have you can only raise for one cause at a time, although you can be the admin of many causes. So if that person registers the church using that same email, that'd be absolutely fine, but just be aware that the cause that you're supporting will have changed to the church. You can change it back if you want to, and you can do that in your account. I can talk you through step by step if you'd like me to, no problem.
That's brilliant. I'm Roisin, I'm sorry, in the way of these things, I need to say good night to you and thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you.
And we'll now look for Sarah Mohammed, I know she's here, but James is going to find her for us so that we can welcome her properly. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Sarah, you saw how it ran.
I did.
James has got your deck. He's going to bring that up for you, so you, Chris Whitty, have to ask for the next one. And okay. I'll deal with your questions if that's okay, so that you just have to worry about telling us what you want to tell us, and then we can. We can move on.
There.
So Sarah, welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for giving up your time.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Good evening, all. I'm Sarah Mohammed from Quadient. Not many people have heard of Quadient. We were formerly Neopost. So we've been in the UK since 1924. However, we are a global 1.7 billion pound company, and I will talk through the global presence a bit later on, but just in case you haven't heard the name Quadient, that's where we come from. Next slide, please. I've added some graphics into the slides for you this evening, just for information, because when you think of parcel lockers, I know that you may think of brightly coloured large parcel lockers, perhaps in the back of a petrol station with poor lighting, etc. What I want to demonstrate here is that our parcel lockers, we have indoor and outdoor, but they're also modular. So this means we can pretty much build it to whichever specifications that you would like, whether it be columns under a counter. We're currently talking to a well-known German supermarket who has an area where you pack your groceries, whereby the picture enclosed would assist them. Next slide, please. And then this is more of a retail setting, some sportswear stores, so that again, you can see the lockers in more of what we call the column solution. And that would be two columns there sided together. Next slide, please. Okay, so expanding our parcel locker solution, what we are offering to various markets are various different types. So the larger models on your left, which are Pack City Gen 2, those will be available later on in the year, but are for larger retail sites, not what we're particularly looking for this evening. We then have the parcel pending in the middle, which is the popular version, both with pin pad and a screen. And then to your right, you have the column parcel pending Lite that I'm dealing with for hosting parcel lockers within the UK. Excuse me. Next slide, please. So what are we actually looking at? Quadient Parcel Lockers, we are launching an urban dense network of up to 10,000 parcel lockers within the UK within the next 4 to 5 years. We're looking at 4 different sections, which would be commercial, real estate / residential, retailers and carriers. I'm more focused on retailers and carriers because I'm offering various organisations and landowners, etc., to have parcel lockers and host them for us. Therefore, there would be no financial outlay at all at any point for hosting these lockers. Next slide, please. We all know without the pandemic that e-commerce and click and collect trends are through the roof at the minute, 47% year on year. The current statistics that are coming through for 2020 are over 60%, but we await the final figure. Excuse me. Online orders are forecast to increase to nearly 30% between 2019 and 24. From what we hear from various research bodies, it's already over 35%, as we know, for 2020. However, only 10% of the sales are omni-channel services which executed profitably. Next slide, please. So you've probably all heard of parcel shops, Collect Plus, and now I'm talking to you about hosting parcel lockers. Sadly, and I'm hoping I don't look my age, I actually launched Collect Plus in 2005 when working with PayPoint, and I launched all 5,000 Hermes parcel shops working for Hermes. So I'm now doing it again for the third time in the UK, but this time with a difference. 94% of users buy additional items. Now, your average basket spend obviously isn't an area that's going to be huge for yourselves and your places of worship. However, there is the opportunity there should you wish. And 73% of consumers want self-service technology. Everybody's moving into the contactless area. Everybody wants that at the moment. So we're actually booking that trend before we even knew it. Next slide, please. And again. So the flexibility with the Quadient parcel lockers and hosting them. Obviously, you'll see the smaller parcel pending Lite lockers there on the left-hand side with the larger models on the right. The difference being to our lockers from maybe perhaps any other that you've seen is our lockers can go indoor and outdoor. So the smaller versions in the column that we looked at earlier are actually operated by battery and Bluetooth. So no mains outside would be needed or Wi-Fi, etc. And then we do have the models, obviously, that would work from your standard electric and Wi-Fi network. Next slide, please. So the parcel pending Lite background, I mentioned earlier that we're a £1.7 billion global company. Our first installation of lockers was completed in end of 2019 with Quadient in France. Since then, we've gone on to install many different lockers, both in France, Germany, and Japan. Next slide, please. So you'll see in the States, we're very big with the residential, the universities, and commercial. We are now duplicating that activity in the UK, and we have over 11,000 lockers deployed globally as of last year. Next slide, please. And again. So it's really easy for your congregation or your parishioners to use. You'd have your locker either indoor or outdoor, and your customers would order from wherever they shop online via the web. They would then get their usual email, and the retailer, yourselves and carriers will all have a little app that will tell you then that your locker facility is full, the usage, etc, etc. Next slide, please. I won't go through all of these, it will take us till next week. However, the unique selling points is obviously you are, and our biggest area is that we are providing a service for the community. Latest research shows us, especially within the London and outskirts area, that customers, we're a lazy lot. We do not want to walk more than 250 metres there and 250 metres back to pick up a parcel at the moment. However, what we do know is we are in a false sense because we're all at home and we're now on first name terms with our Amazon and Hermes couriers. I'm married to one, so I'm on first names terms. However, what we want to do is to make sure that we reduce emissions for our communities, give the consumers choice, but also have an additional revenue for my hosts that would offer this service to their communities. Next page, please. Here's a few more of the lockers in the modular way that you can see. You can see the Bluetooth side there. So we have extra small, small, medium and large lockers with different doors. So each module has a pin pad there on the left, and the customer would literally get a pin code to their phone, and as they're walking up, they could choose to use Bluetooth, and the door actually opens like magic, which surprised me, and it also opens quite far away too. Or also they can just put their PIN number in, as we do for cash machines, etc. Next slide, please. Did you know? So we did a little bit of maths just to manage expectations. We looked at for a trial period. So when we launch, there is a slight delay from original hoping to launch in April, May. Unfortunately, Brexit and IT has caused some of carriers in the UK some issues, but we are definitely thinking August, September time. So the current average pickup time is 4 hours. Once we get a notification on our phones, we don't like to wait any longer than 4 hours to go and pick it up. So that means that your parcel lockers are obviously on the go 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all throughout the year. On average, we hope to start off with 10 parcels per day. Now, some people have said, well, Sarah, that's a lot. But if you think this will be the only parcel locker in the UK that will accept every single carrier, then this is the one place that your community, your parishioners can use, rather than having their parcels delivered at home, or from missing a parcel and it's gone back to depot. The carriers will also divert your parcels to the nearest locker should they want to. It's 24/7 collection for convenience, privacy, compliance, contactless. It's a business that's growing every single day of the week, so it's certainly a safe option for us. Next slide, please. So the Quadient Terms, like I say, there's no financial outlay at all for any of the lockers. There's no financial outlay for the installation and all the maintenance. So should there be any problem during the period of contract, that's all based on us. Some conversations that I'm having with other organisations is, you know, if you are in an area that would warrant it, we can wrap the lockers so they don't particularly look white and orange. And yes, we have had a request from Solihull Council to have one to look like a bush. So our marketing team are currently working on that, because this is where I'm differing from other locker suppliers. My lockers are going to be literally on the end of the street, whereby you know, the councils and the boroughs will receive that revenue. However, we want to be able to obviously do it in a place that will certainly need and want to offer the service to their community. You would receive between 9p and 14p per parcel. That's any parcel that touches that locker. So somebody could be collecting a parcel and you would get that commission, or somebody could be sending a parcel to their family, friends, loved ones, and you would generate that commission. And the commission is paid monthly. The minimum contract length is 2 years, and we can agree trial sites if there's any concerns. We would have a look on the map, you know, look at population density, traffic flow, transport hubs, etc., to make sure that the locker would absolutely work for all parties, quite frankly. And we are not exclusively driven. So, you know, we're not the first to the UK market, however, for parcel lockers. However, we will be the first parcel locker that will accept parcels on behalf of DHL, Royal Mail, Yodel, Hermes, etc., etc. So all these carriers, instead of going to the newsagent for that parcel, the petrol station for that parcel, and a shopping centre for a click and collect, you would be the ideal solution.
What size of community do you need this to be, certainly in the early stages? Because we've got quite a few country communities here, which might be quite small, but for them, this could be really, really useful. So
absolutely. I haven't gone on an actual number per thousand on population density. Again, I'm looking at each postcode district and community on a separate basis. We've just purchased some mapping solution software that I'm currently teaching myself, because there's me and only me at the minute, albeit we are building a team. And I will look at that area and speak to the hosts. You know, this isn't, you know, something that we're going to say, oh, you have to generate this many parcels. We want it to work, and the carriers will help it work. And also the carriers will help your consumers pick the locker rather than home or a shop or etc. So we could do cheaper delivery fees, etc.
So particularly as I'm thinking some of those rural communities where the post office might be several villages away,
yes,
actually having your parcel thing whereby Royal Mail are leaving it in the village could be a boost.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And what about planning? For some of our churches, they're a bit pretty.
Yes.
And as beautiful as your boxes are going to be, they may not be considered by the planning department as being as pretty enough to be. What are you going to? How are you going to manage that? Are you going to be responsible for planning, or are you asking the churches to be responsible for planning?
Contractually, the church is responsible for planning. However, morally, we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes. And again, me individually, I'm working with some Transport for London, and I'm working for Solihull Council as well, looking at the planning permissions that we need. Now, with the pandemic and the new GPDR, permitted rights from September the 1st last year, operating a click and collect facility is allowed without planning permission. However, again, we would look at this on a one-by-one basis. We would have the conversation with yourselves and look at, can we place the locker in an area where it wouldn't be an eyesore? Nobody wants an eyesore in you know, their church. So we could wrap it that it could have different advertising or marketing, etc. We could put it indoor so it doesn't affect or impact the outdoor area. Or again, we could then talk about any other and apply for planning permission and assist wherever possible.
So it could even have St. James's Church inside of it. I'm being asked about vandalism and what outdoors lockers vandalism. What's your answer to that?
Again, I'm working with West Midlands Police. It's very much perception. The actual crime rate on lockers is incredibly low. It's like a bit like cash machines, because they're very heavy and very sturdy, especially outside. They'd be bolted to the floor. So the worst we've had at the minute was outside a university, and there's a couple of dent marks where you know, somebody's wanting to test their shoe leather, and that's about it. But again, a phone call to us if it's any damage through that, we have the insurance, etc., and we will make sure that the locker is up and running again as quickly as possible.
Okay, that's fine. What are we paying for the electricity for these, or are you paying for them if they're wired in?
If they're wired in, it would be your electricity. I actually got asked for a picture of the battery and how that operates yesterday, but it's literally a Duracell C battery and lasts for about 2 years. Fine, okay. And nothing complicated.
So hopefully that's not too bad. I'm being rightly pointed out two other things. One, and these probably are your last questions, if that's okay. One is that the hours of operation that you need to be open for if it's inside the building. And secondly, that there's a whole planning process with churches called faculties, which are over and above the local authority's planning permission. And okay. So we need to educate you on that if this came about.
Yes. Okay, no problem.
So what about hours of operation? What hours of operation?
Hours of operation, obviously we'd like 24/7. However, we will have, I've negotiated with some co-op stores, for example. So we will have lockers that are 24/7 outside within the area. It would be based on what you're open. So whether you're 10 till 5 or 10 till 6, as long as your community knows, because you won't be having ad hoc customers, you know, that are passing on the local dual carriageway and are going to, oh, there's a church that I can have my parcel. This will be a predicted purchase, so a predicted location, so it wouldn't be a problem.
Okay, well, we'll put up all your details on the website for you as well, for anyone to contact you. And I think we're early starters with you, so I'm sure that you're going to be treated especially nicely, because we are going to break new ground with you about doing it.
Absolutely.
So
let's hope so.
Lovely. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Guys, we have a couple of minutes if people want to have a very quick loo break, and then I think I've got Nicola from Ecclesiastical Insurance to talk to us then. So let's what's the time now? Can we just say 46, so 3 minutes, just go away and get whatever you need, and then James will bring up Nicola and Ecclesiastical. Thanks, guys. And again, if that's all right with everyone, please put your questions through the chat box. I think that's shown that we can get this done quite crisply with that, if that's okay. So Nicola, over to you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Jeremy, and thank you for the invitation. So it's a real pleasure for me to be joining you all tonight. Just to make you aware, I'm fairly new to the role at Ecclesiastical, and so actually this is a really good opportunity for me to introduce myself. So it's Nikki, or Nicola Satterford, and I am the local church insurance consultant for Ecclesiastical. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to start by giving you a little bit of brief information about Ecclesiastical, about my role, and what we are trying as your insurer, some of your insurer, to just to help you through this difficult time, really. So Ecclesiastical was formed in 1887, which was a long time ago. So we have over 130 years experience in insuring churches. Now, rather than just churches, we're a general insurer. So we specialise in faith, heritage and education, and we also provide home insurance. And the reason I mention the home insurance aspect is that we actually do have a scheme currently called Trust 130. Which may be of interest to you, in that if you take out home insurance with us, then we will provide £130 to a church of your choice. So in these difficult times, £130 is a lot of money. It's definitely worth just getting in touch with our home insurance team if your renewal's coming up, just to see what we can do for you. Because like I say, you got that extra £130 towards your church if you take out the policy. We are the leading UK insurer of churches and heritage buildings. We're actually owned, we're a charity owned insurer. We're owned by All Churches Trust Limited. And that means that profit across the business goes to them, and they then give out grants to Christian-based charities, including churches. So ATL award small grants of between £1,000 and £5,000. 90% of applications are likely to get a grant, and I understand that the response is pretty quick on that as well. They do also fund towards large grants. It would usually be, for example, a project over 5,000, it would usually be about 1%, which doesn't sound much, but actually it's great leverage to use when you're applying to other donors to say that you've already got them involved. All the information is actually on the All Churches Trust website. I have sent out links to Jeremy, which hopefully will be passed out to you individually, which will just take you to there so you can do some more research, or you just feel free to get in contact with me and I can actually put you in contact with your local grants officer. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about myself. Like I say, fairly new to the role. I've worked in the insurance industry for nearly 14 years now. Joined the first week of lockdown last year, which was a really challenging time. And I'm covering the whole of the East Anglia area. Now, this role was brought about by Ecclesiastical a few years ago, just from listening to our customers, in that they they felt they needed a local face, someone to support them and to support the diocese. So that's what my role is for, just to sort of work with you, listen to you, provide support. So if you've got financial concerns, if you've got cover queries on your insurance policy, then you can just get in contact with me, and obviously I can look into that for you. Also attend seminars and workshops where we can. Obviously at the moment it's webinars because we can't come out face to face, and we just do presentations that are tailored specifically towards churches. So things like open churches. A lot of people think that insurers wouldn't want you to have your church open, but actually we appreciate that that generates income for you. So we look at the best ways to help you achieve that. And we just provide support at diocesan, archdeaconry and deanery events as well. Next slide, please. So how can we help as an insurer? We've got our whole team working from home. I think most people are still working from home at the moment. And we have a specialist church team, and that consists of an underwriting team, a claims team there to help you, and a risk management team to provide sort of health and safety guidance for you. And they all have their own dedicated telephone lines as well. All of my colleagues, the church insurance consultant team, you'd usually be out and about, but unfortunately we can't be. So we're sort of just speaking over the phone with you, speaking to archdeacons, and just looking at the best ways that we can help you through this difficult time. We do have a website which is constantly being updated, and that will give you advice and best practice on how to reopen your church if you haven't done so, because we know obviously some have, some haven't, and it's a difficult process to go through. Mentioning here about our diocese, we've been discussing with the diocese regarding fundraising. We have set up a fundraising hub, which is available again on our website, but I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. Okay, next slide, please. Now, I've put in a couple of slides just regarding health and safety and requirements, which you might think, well, what's this got to do with raising money? But actually, as an insurer, we're here to help you save as much money as you can and to mitigate any losses. So I just wanted to include this for you so that you know we have plenty of guidance on our website to help you with that. So it's all there really just to help you understand what your health and safety responsibilities are. There are legal requirements that you have to comply with. So checking what you are doing, if there's any more that you could be doing, writing health and safety policies if that's something that you need to be doing, completing risk assessments if you need to do that, and just dealing with specific hazards, again, to mitigate losses. You don't want people sort of falling over on church premises, which happens quite a lot. So there's just advice really on how to avoid things like that happening, and just more information on COVID. Like I say, it's on our website, but we do also have a dedicated telephone line as well. Again, I have sent out the links to all of that. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is just about the testing requirements that you need to be checking to make sure that your church is best protected, really. A lot of fires that happen can be due to electrical faults. So obviously we suggest that you have these, and they are requirements to have certain frequency. So electrical inspections, for example, you should be having every 5 years, and that is a requirement and needs to be undertaken by a suitably qualified person. Lightning conductor is an interesting one because it's actually every 4 years, but a lot of parishes and churches seem to think that it's every year. So a lot of people are carrying them out annually. So I thought I'd just raise that, because actually, if you want to check with your treasurer, if you're having them done annually, it might be that you don't need to be, and you could be saving money there. Smart water, it is a policy condition that is applied, and we do recommend that that it has a guarantee of minimum of 5 years. We do, just to make you aware as well, when you have smart water, because again, a lot of people don't realise this, you do need to make sure you have signs up to say that you have smart water, because that is a policy condition that you need to comply with. Alarm systems should be checked annually, fire extinguishers annually, and fixed heating systems annually as well. And again, all of that is on the website if you want to have a look in a little bit more detail about it. And also, just with regards to portable appliance testing, there isn't a statutory frequency for the inspection, but we just sort of, you do need to just be making sure appliances that are being used regularly, i.e. kettles, that you need to make sure they are tested, and that, just look out for any sort of wear and tear or deterioration, really. Next slide, please. And again, I'm going to just quickly whiz through this one to get to the fundraising part, but we have a risk calendar on our website as well. And it's also being sent out with monthly e-news, which we send to parish contacts. So if you want to be added to our newsletter, you can sign up on the internet. But this is basically every month, there's a hints and tips for considering the operational risks at your church, and it's relevant to the time of year. On the website, it will take you through to the guidance for all of the different risks that are gone throughout the year. Next slide, please. So finally, the fundraising hub it's something that was set up last year after listening to everybody. Obviously, we know it's been a difficult time for you all. You're not generating the income that you would have been. So it's really there. It's to supplement what your diocese are doing with you as well. It's just a bit of information to help you fundraise. So, for example, on there you could find things such as top tips for fundraising by churches. There's a list of emergency grant funders. There's information on researching possible donors and funders. And there's also information on how best you can build your case for support when applying for the grants. There's also some webinars on our website that were carried out through the summer last year, but they're available to view back now. And they are on things like top tips to continue fundraising, digital fundraising and crowdfunding, keeping your congregation and donors informed, successful grant applications, and measuring the success of your project. We also have a fundraising helpline, and that's a dedicated helpline that you can call. You can raise queries, and then that query will be passed on to me to find out the answer for you. And also we have fundraising in a box, which is a recent addition because we realised that not everybody does have access to the internet. And this is a printed toolkit, which is for church customers, and it provides a sort of step-by-step guide with most of the things that are on the website, but all in a little useful little box for you. Next slide, please. I think that's it. Yeah, so any questions, just to let you know, like I said, I'm fairly new to the role, so my colleague Rebecca is here to help me answer questions if I get a little bit stuck. Oh, you're on mute, Jeremy.
So I'm not doing very well. I was saying how well you're doing and mucking it up myself. I've got a couple of fairly soft questions and then one slightly naughty question, but okay, so I'm leaving.
Okay, so I'll get Rebecca involved with the naughty one.
The first question is, are you covering the diocese or are you covering Essex? Because obviously half of
the diocese.
Diocese, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I do cover the diocese, yeah.
The second nice question is the 130 only works if you're new to Ecclesiastical. You don't reward those of us who've historically...
Oh, okay.
So renewals don't get, and what I think I'm being asked to suggest to you is we don't necessarily want 130, but some smaller amount.
Okay.
Because at the moment, what you're encouraging me to do, and I'm referring to Ben here, but we're encouraging us to do is go with another insurer for a year and come back so we can get 130 quid off you.
Okay, now that's a fair point, actually. That's a fair point. So that is something that I will pass on. Because I agree, I'm the same. I find it annoying if it's like with Sky, if you have that issue. So.
Yeah. I've got a nice smart water seems to run out of date very quickly. That's another nice question, by the way.
Okay.
So we are kind of asking you, come on, it was brilliant when you brought smart water in. Can you not do something next stage that improves that?
Okay, so you're saying that you're finding you're having to replace it quite frequently.
Yeah, and it's quite difficult.
Okay.
Onto those roofs, and expensive and so forth, to keep our insurance.
Okay, no, that's a fair point. I mean, I've heard cases where it's lasted longer than the minimum of 5 years as well. So it would be interesting if we do some research on that and find out the proportion.
You said to us, you don't need to renew it for 7 years. Wonderful. Do you know what I mean? That's a bonus. But at the moment, if we don't renew it, I think you would question our insurance claim, if you see what I mean, because you will say you haven't kept it up to date.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I can pass on that feedback. Absolutely.
Now for the nasty question. Well, it's not nasty, but Colin is right to ask it. We've had a loss of income from COVID. How can the Ecclesiastical cover us for that? Can any of us claim for anything due to loss of income because we've had to close our churches or kick out hirers, etc.?
Okay. There's not much I can say on that, really. You might be aware of the FCA case that went to court, but actually it was found that Ecclesiastical's wording was correct, and it isn't. The thing is with all insurance policies, they weren't intended to cover a pandemic. You know, and that's unfortunately that's the answer, you know. And there are some insurers that unfortunately didn't word it as well as us, and so they have had difficult situations, but it's just not something that was ever meant to be covered. So there is no claims that can be made for loss of income, unfortunately. But we have enhanced covers on our policies. There are some temporary adjustments that we've made with our policies to sort of help, you know, like covering contents in homes and things like that. But again, that can be found on our website, all the adjustments that have been made. So sorry, that's not the answer you wanted to hear.
No, that's fine. I'm going back to questions. What role does Smart Water have in our insurance costs?
I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not sure about that. Becky, I don't know if you would be able to answer.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Hi, nice to see you on the screen. So Smart Water, in terms of the insurance premium, it doesn't make a difference, but it's a policy condition that churches use the Smart Water and put the signage up. Now, the condition doesn't actually say how frequently you reapply it. So Smart Water have guaranteed their product for a minimum of 5 years. And the philosophy is that every time somebody's on the roof, if they check it with an ultraviolet light and it's still fluorescing, it's still on. And as Nikki mentioned, we've got cases that go back to 2007 where we still check them every year and they are still fluorescing. So there isn't a policy stipulation that you must do it every 5 years, but you have to have the signage up. And that is one thing when we're doing lots of training on metal theft, make sure the signage is up. And if it isn't, let Nikki know and we can get you some sent out. Okay.
I'll just continue on this just for a minute. I have 2 questions, and then I think I've got to close this down, or else I'm not going to keep to time for people. Are we all supposed to have Smart Water? I think you're saying if you have lead and things like that that can be nicked on the outside, yes, because you won't insure us if we don't.
And obviously that, you know, we can't speak for other insurers either, that this is with Ecclesiastical.
No, that's fine. You're only here to defend your own employer at the moment. That's all we're asking. Do you charge for preparing health and safety and risk assessment policies? I don't think you're actually preparing. You're giving it money, which you're helping us to prepare our own.
Yeah, we don't prepare them. We're just providing the guidance. We have health and safety experts who can give you advice, but we don't prepare them for you. No.
No, that's absolutely.
So no fees for the advice, though.
No, but what you're giving us is dummies on your website, which actually we can hopefully
use,
and turn quite quickly into what we need.
Yes, that's correct.
That's how I found them to be used anyway.
Okay. We give templates, and also we offer supplementary training on health and safety.
Thank you, Rebecca. That was Rebecca over the...
That was Rebecca.
Okay, so that's great. Apologies that it's all been quite quick, but it's meant to be like...
No, that's fine. Absolutely fine. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
So all your stuff will be up on the website, and we encourage people. And now I think it's really good. that they know who you are. So when they're ringing you
Yeah.
up as our rep, they can go, oh, Nicola, yeah, I saw you on screen. So they get to know you a bit better.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, get in contact. Anything you've got to ask me, then just get in contact. No problem.
Okay, brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to Nicholas, the last presentation tonight from Parish Buying.
Right, well, thanks very much, Jeremy. My name is Nick Yenny, and I work as part of the national giving team. And my main responsibility is the parish buying service. So we'll move straight on to the next slide, please.
Yep.
I'll be showing you in just a moment a video. And by the way, are we sharing computer sound?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent, thank you. But just before then, a couple of other points which we'll be covering in the agenda. Quick overview of parish buying, because that's the subject. We will introduce green electricity for those of you who haven't heard it from the Energy Basket, and a few other products, including contactless giving. And hopefully there'll be a little bit of time afterwards for some questions. So next slide, please.
Generosity is at the heart of our faith. And the generosity we show is testament to a lived out faith and our generous God. The God that so loved the world, he gave his only son. The ministry and mission of the Church of England is largely funded through the incredible generosity of those who give to it. In order to cultivate this generosity within our church, we need both the right environment and the right culture. There are simple steps we can take to encourage generosity. The most important is the first, to pray that God may give us the spiritual gift of generosity so that we increasingly reflect the generosity of God in our ministry and mission. Because, as the Bible tells us, generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. We need to create an environment that encourages people to give, and to do this we need to get 4 things in place, and we use the acronym MINT for these. Mechanisms are the tools that allow giving to take place, such as direct debit, contactless payment, online, legacies, gift aid, and so on. The impact of people's giving needs to be explained, how it enables the church's ministry and mission. The need for people to give must be shown, so they can see where their help is needed and how important it is that they give. And trust must be built, so that people have confidence that the church will spend their gifts wisely and well. If you have these 4 elements in place, then you have created the best environment for people to give.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So that summarises the work of my colleagues in the National Giving Team, and we'll come back to some of those mechanisms a little bit later. But now I'd like to give you a little bit about the parish buying service itself, what it offers, how you can use it, and a little bit of what to expect. Next slide, please. So who provides the service? It's provided by Church of England Central Services. Contract for some of the aspects, particularly customer service, and most of the procurement has been let to a company called 2x2 by the Church of England. Who typically registers? Well, there are about 10,500 church accounts registered with parish buying at the moment. And that's about 22,000 church wardens, treasurers, administrators and clergy. And there can be a number of people who register from the same church. The more the merrier, we're very welcome. What do you get? Well, registration gives access to nationally negotiated contracts. Links to guidance and help from customer service staff, and they're real people, incidentally, not recordings. And you only get the benefits on pricing from those contracts if you contract through parish buying, and that's the trick. There is no cost to parishes to join parish buying. It's financed by listing fees and commission paid by suppliers. Next slide, please. In order to access the contracts, you have to be registered as a parish buying member. Can you do another click? It is open to churches, cathedrals, abbeys, dioceses, church friends groups, and all kinds of other Church of England bodies. Every church, well, nearly every church, uses electricity. Many use gas. Our biggest contract is for the energy basket to serve those churches. And here is a short video about that.
The Energy Basket has been consistently providing significant savings to thousands of churches, making it the biggest energy buying scheme in the country. But how does it work? Well, at Parish Buying, we buy energy throughout the year, making our purchases every month in large chunks, so that the forecast volumes from all our member churches are safely met and secured. So what does this mean for you? Let's say your parish's energy contract is up for renewal. You go to a few suppliers and get quotes for the next year. If you're lucky, the energy market is at a low point when you get your quotes, and you can agree a really good price for the next contract. If you're unlucky, the prices in the market will be spiking high. This means you'll have to accept an expensive new contract. Because at Parish Buying we buy energy throughout the year, the cost of energy for our members won't suddenly change. It averages out over the year, providing churches and cathedrals with a competitive price. It may not always be the very cheapest, but we're confident in our ability to save you money over time. But it's not just about saving money. In fact, one of the biggest benefits of the basket is that it saves you time. You get a fresh price every year without the need to spend valuable time hunting around for new contracts. And one final bit of good news. 100% of the electricity in the energy basket is green. All the electricity is from UK-based renewable sources, mostly from solar panels. We've been working with a basket provider to do this at no extra cost to our members. So what are you waiting for? Join in. Save money, save time, save the environment, and let your parish get on with the things that are really important.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Well, on the slide are the leading products used by churches from Parish Buying, and I won't read them out. You can read those for yourselves. But in addition to what's there, 500 churches in 2020 sought quotations for broadband service to get connected. In addition, our new audio-visual suppliers are proving popular too, for obvious reasons, as church seek to share services online. And we used funding provided by Total to offer a subsidised energy audit programme, and we'll be doing that again in 2021. So moving on then to the next area, Jeremy asked me in particular to include some items about contactless giving. So next slide, please. Here is a list of all of the products and service categories that we currently offer on Parish Buying. I'm sorry, the slide is rather small. More items will be added to our website this year to help your church reach its 2030 net zero carbon goal. So keep checking out the website to see when they're added. Martin Cross got a contactless card reader through Parish Buying and shared this. Please, could you click on the movie?
Hello, I'm Martin Cross, the treasurer at St Chad's Church in York. St Chad's started to use contactless giving in 2019 as a result of winning a Parish Buying contactless card unit giveaway. The capability for contactless giving came at a great time, as it allowed us to continue hosting our usual events, including a dementia-friendly concert, fundraisers with the Alzheimer's Society, and small-scale performances in a COVID-safe way. I would encourage churches that have not yet incorporated contactless card units as one of their giving methods to do so. The congregation at St Chad's adjusted rather quickly and found contactless card giving unit easy to use. I would also recommend the Parish Buying online giving platform Give a Little, as it goes hand in hand with SumUp contactless giving units. Also, to enhance St Chad's website for our congregation's convenience, we incorporated online giving. Since then, our members have warmed to it and have taken part in our coffee mornings held on Zoom, which help us to raise money for Macmillan Cancer Support.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So it's good to think about contactless as one part of the bigger puzzle of digital giving. Another big part of that puzzle is online giving. You may be set up with this already, and we run separate training for getting going with online giving, but there are a few things we can consider briefly here. By setting up your online giving page through Parish Buying, you're also setting up with a service which can be used for contactless giving as well. It doesn't have to be with the same company, but if you do adopt the same company for both, then the treasurer's life is made a little easier with only one set of reporting for all of the types of giving. And once you've set up online giving, you're ready for QR codes. Next slide, please. The movies start automatically. Online giving is a form of contactless, but using QR codes. We're more familiar with QR codes now than we were previously because of test and trace. Pointing a smartphone camera at the QR code means that people are directed to a web page where they can make a donation. All the church has to do is print it out on a poster, on a banner, on a notice board, or display it on screen. Once an online giving page through Parish Buying is set up, then getting a QR code is easy. There are resources available online to go through this in more detail, or join one of our webinars. Next slide, please. An important consideration for deciding on your contact solution is connectivity. Not all contactless units work where there is no connection. It doesn't necessarily mean broadband internet, as some devices can also use a SIM card, a mobile phone card in other words, where there's a good mobile phone signal. But what's available in your church is an important place to start for thinking about the unit that's best for you. Parish Buying lets you filter options to those that don't require connectivity if you don't have a connection in your church. Next slide, please. The movies start automatically. Two examples here, and they are just examples, are the Pair Charity 8920 on the left, which is able to take donations without there being any internet connection available at the time, as long as it's for contactless, that is to say donations of less than £45. And on the right, the Collect in More, which can operate either using Wi-Fi or a SIM card. With the Collect in, you'll get an unactivated SIM card with data bundle. Next slide, please. And there is a range of webinars available from the giving team. Can we go back two, please? There we go. And from other units of the church as well. Here is a sample of the webinars you may be interested in for your church. Seems to be a troublesome slide, sorry about that. And obviously you'll get this afterwards as a recording, so you'll be able to see that in more detail. So finally then, to wrap up, it's been a bit of a challenge to give you a summary of all you get from Parish Buying. Next slide, please, in the time available. But that concludes the full part of what I have to say. Thank you very much for listening.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That was that's been great. I'm afraid I put you last because you asked for a little more time, and I thought more of the churches would be interested in yours. So you've been the hook. You know, you don't put the star performer on first. You know, sorry, Roisin. So the questions that seem to be coming up are really, so it's totally free to join. Any number of church members can join it. And do we have to sign up to particular bundles, or can we just you're just a marketplace?
I'm sure amongst the 22,000 people who've signed up, there are quite a lot who've never actually bought anything through Parish Buying at all, but they will get every month a newsletter telling them what may be interest them next time they come along.
Good. And we've had some interest in solar panels and things like that. Are you getting into any of that kind of stuff?
Yes, we've got a very big project on at the moment, the procurement project at present, which includes piloting suppliers of solar panels, and we will be making some announcements on that during the course of the end of March, basically, and we'll have a number of other products for churches, including pew heaters and so forth. But more of that in a couple of months' time.
Good, good. And as you're saying, you've got the whole kind of, I can't believe any church hasn't worked this out by now, but if they want camera equipment to connect them to Zoom or Facebook or YouTube or whatever, you're also offering all those kind of things too.
Yeah, there are 4 suppliers offering audiovisual equipment for streaming. Well, it doesn't have to be for streaming, it can just be for a sound system for your church, but there are 4 suppliers available now on Parish Buying, have been since October, and they're well worth a visit. We've got some very good feedback from parishes on their experience so far.
Okay, I mean, in Chelmsford, I don't fully understand, but Mevo, which are one of the camera suppliers, offered us 10% discount if we went through them. So a few, about 10 or 12 have taken the Mevo cameras. They're quite high-end stuff, but then you haven't got a relationship with them yet.
No, not with camera suppliers. We purposely went only for full service suppliers for churches that perhaps needed to have an integrated system, in inverted commas, rather than just buying kit. We feel that churches that feel confident enough to go out and buy their own kit and make it up don't need parish buying so much.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Are there any other questions, please? I've got nothing that's come through that I haven't asked for you, and we're putting up all your details up there. I hope you didn't find that too much of a rush, but hopefully it was a Peter Woods just said it's a good service. There we are. You've got endorsement. There we are. So
thank you, Peter.
But I hope this wasn't too painful, but I think this is the way to go for diocese, that we should every 6 months or so be putting on things like this, and we just can get all the parishes to come to that rather than you have to go around dusty halls and try and sell this if you did. Anything you want to say last to us, please?
No, I would just say that the other thing that's free with parish buying is actually signing up for contactless and particularly starting with online giving is totally free. You can open an account with SumUp and get the Give a Little service to set up your giving page, and it costs absolutely nothing at all. Although, of course, you will pay a transaction charge, but it is the best deal that are available to churches for what you might call the low-end donations. If you think it's low-end, going to be, but under £30, it's the best deal.
Right. So that's the basis between the difference between people purchasing and people renting. You think the sum up at the moment for that?
For online, there is nothing, of course, to pay at all. No monthly charges of any sort. For contactless, you do have to buy a piece of kit to make it work, and that's for the piece of kit that sits in your church.
No, we kept trying to update the Chelmsford Diocese website with what the best contactless was, and in the end, all we did was just give them a link to Parish Buying, because we said, you guys are doing all the hard work. Why are we trying to double up what you're doing? And we sent them to you to find out what your latest offers are. Shirley says, I've heard that green energy supply is as effective as having one's own solar panels and more environmentally friendly in the long run.
I think I'm probably not best placed to give you a technical answer on that one, but certainly green energy supply is a step in the right direction and can only help in reducing carbon.
Yeah, and Jokie's already asked privately. I think I've answered privately to Jokie about the, and she's recommending SumUp, but she's saying, are there sources of funding for particularly greening a scheme? So you've already got a parish hall redevelopment or whatever, or a church, you know, you're refitting or whatever. Is there particular sources where you would recommend for making that a really green option, sort of going gold taps, but in the green world?
Well, I mean, we're into parish buying, and so we're not really advisors on grants, but I know that part of our project in producing a whole sort of net zero section on the Parish Buying website includes links to grant givers who specialise in environmental projects. So that's very much on the to-do list. But as you'll appreciate, it's quite a lot of person hours to do, person days to do. But that's certainly what we hope to do before the end of this year.
Lovely, and I recommended All Churches Trust because they do have on their website that they're particularly trying to encourage churches to get greener. So they are saying that maybe it's only a small grant, but it will be helpful. That's lovely. Any last questions to Nick, please? Just leave there for a second, Nick, just in case the ether takes a few seconds to do. No, Nick, thank you very much. Thank you for being confined by us. And I hope loads of people find you who haven't found you before. Thank you.
For inviting me.
Thank you. Okay, good. James, can we go back to, thank you. I think we're over with now. I would be interested, as I said earlier, if it's okay, forgive me, but I think it would be interesting to know whether this is something we ought to try and do every 6 months or so, trying to pull together all the different offers we keep getting to the diocese, and we don't really know how to pump them out. If we could do a webinar just to bring those of you who are interested in those things up to date. So I would be interested in hearing what your response is. Please go to the website tomorrow and all of this stuff will be there. And Dave, brother, says it's much more powerful than an email update. It is, because you've spent an hour and a half and you've got up to date with most of the new things that are going on. So, and Richard, thank you, 6 months, that's great. Thank you, Peter, for very helpful, but I take criticism as well, obviously not as well, but you know what I mean. So can I thank you all, and thank you, Jacqueline, and shall we just say the grace together now? May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all now and evermore. Amen. Bless you all. Thank you for joining, and I hope you're joining into the Lent Bible studies. And thank you, James, for looking after us. It's good night from me, and I think it's good night from him. Thank you.